Hello everyone, and welcome to my short little Gimp tutorial. This video was made specifically for users within a Discord of mine that I am going to learn digital drawing with. If you are not part of that group, this video may not be what you're looking for. I am just showing them the basics and starting them off with a little art project to be on their way. For those of you who stay with the video, this is Gimp. We have our different little tools for actually interacting with an image, and these are how we modify the tools. So let me start with just making a new file. We'll give it any template, width, height, whatever, none of that really matters unless you're have something specific in mind. But here we start with background. The background, it's not necessarily where you really want to draw. In Gimp and a lot of digital art platforms, you have something called layers. So if I add so over here I just right click and I can add a new layer, or from up here, where is it? I don't know Gimp that well myself. I do a lot of my work through right clicking, so I'll just keep doing that honestly. You can add a new layer. You can name that layer whatever you want. For this case, it will be based on the art project I'm going to give all of you. So this will be, I'm just going to call it, do I really want to call it, I'll call it body. So it's not really anything particular I need to do, so I'll just call it body and click OK. So as you can see, we have this weird checkered body and this red background. Over here, you can select whether or not you even see it. So now all I see is my body layer, or I can see my background layer. What this body layer does, and the reason why moving it around you still don't see this, this is called an alpha channel. It makes it essentially invisible. When you see those images online, here, let me open in a new file. Yeah, that should work. So I have a Saitama image, and you can see this little checkered background. If I was to put this on Discord as an emoji, which we have, nothing will be here. It'll be clear. You'll just see the background of Discord on here. That's what this alpha channel, as they call it, does. So on here, if I make another new layer, we will call it hat. And I will put, so here are the tools. I'm going to grab the paintbrush tool. I'm going to select over here. I can modify what the paintbrush does. I'm going to do with a solid circle. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And I am going to select, what color do I want? I'll just go with blue. I select blue, and we have a blue circle. I move over to body, and I put, let's increase the size of this because that's something you can do. I'll put a big blue circle. And now I can move these around. And as you can tell, things are, just don't see it. It's how the invisibility part works. The alpha channel is, as it's called. Another important aspect, let me move these away for a moment. I will go ahead and, this is the erase tool. It can also take whatever shape you want. What's going on? The active layer is not visible. So that's another important thing, is you need to be on the layer you want to modify. So I want to modify the hat layer, so I need to click the hat layer, and then I can erase it. And as you can see, this layer, when I'm on the hat, does not erase. So I will now do the hat in a different color. Let's go with green just so it's drastically different. We will go back down to a small size. I'm still on the eraser. Let me switch back to the paintbrush. Control Z that, switch the colors. And now we have the green circle. Over here we have the move tool, which I used earlier. And now I can move anything in any way. And what I was wanting to show you with the layers, so hat is the topmost layer. It will be what's on top of everything else. If I move body up one, body becomes the top layer and it's on top of everything else, and so forth. Whatever's on top is what you see. That's the order of the layers. But with the background, I want the background to have an alpha channel. So you right click it and select add alpha channel. The background will not automatically have alpha channel in most cases. I will then click the eraser tool, increase the size way up, and just erase all of the background. That way I can make whatever background I want later. And now we have our alpha channel background. I will not be drawing on this in case I do want an actual background. So I will now move the body back down and we have this. I am actually going to go ahead and erase both of these completely because they are not quite what I'm looking for. So first body, let me see, I cannot move it. I'll just start with a new layer actually. Delete layer, and now a new layer, again called body. And this is going to be your first task. I want you to make a snowman. It's a very simple thing, doesn't take any real skill, but the more skill you have, the better you can make it look. So, to start off with, you're of course going to need white for the base of the snowman's body. Go ahead and increase this way up there until I have a size I like. It's not the easiest to see the lines, but it's not that bad. Yeah, that is kind of bad, isn't it? Alright, I'll go ahead and make the background a light blue for now. Go up to blue, make it very light. It's good enough. And now that we have a background, we can clearly see the circle. Go back to white and start working on our snowman. So our snowman needs to be pure white. That's selected. We just do a circle, decrease the size a little bit, do another circle, decrease the size a bit more, a little bit more, which actually I don't like how. Oh, so this is another thing where you can control where this is. You can even, if you have other monitors, move it to the other monitors. If this ever happens and you want it back over here, hover over tool options and drag it into this box. Into up here, sorry. And then it'll snap back into place. It can be very annoying to when you don't know what to do, but that's how you fix it. But let's get a size we like for here. Yeah, I like that size, so we will put the next ball. Decrease the size down a bit and do the head. Seems like an appropriate sized head. And there's the start of our snowman. Now with Gimp, you can control the hardness and the force in which your brush does things. Your brush, your eraser, anything. So if I decrease these a bunch, as you can see, it just does very light touches. Using that, I can then switch this to a bit darker color, not too much because we still want it to look like snow. We'll decrease these even more. We'll decrease our brush size a bit more, and you can start adding snow-like touches to it. If you decrease it even more, just get it way down there, you can just brush along, and you can see it adding slight touches of inconsistency so it's not all just pure white to make it look a little more snow-like. Go ahead and just give it some almost texture-like color. And as you can see, it doesn't look that good, but it also looks a bit better than a pure white. This is where the skill comes in. I don't have a lot of skill, so this is what I have. If you want to smooth this out a bit more, we have something called the smudge tool. With the smudge tool, you can again control the hardness and the force, and you can smooth everything out. In order to zoom in, control and scroll in order to zoom in and out, or there's also this little zoom tool, which you can then select how far you want to zoom in or zoom out, which does about the same. But let's zoom into here, grab our smudge tool. Let's decrease the size a little. Get that back up there. Turn this down, and you can see it's actually changing a little. Let me zoom in a little more. It's hard to notice. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to notice in this case, but if I increase this way up there, you'll see. So let's do this. That's the smudge tool. It slowly applies more and more. So if I then just smudge this around, you can either just hold down the click button and smudge, or you can do it, whoop, I went off the edge, let's fix that. And just smudge it all around. And you get that variety of pixels so that it's not nice and clean. And now it looks a little better, which it looks like I smudged off a little. So I will go to eraser. This one, which is much more like a square, it's what I much prefer to use for erasing this stuff. Aspect ratio needs to be 0 if I want a square. So I clicked over here and I just pressed 0 on my keyboard, delete out the 3, enter, and now I have my perfect square. And decrease the size. Dang, that was a combination of darn it and dang it, sorry. Decrease the size way down, and now I can erase this little white smudge I provided on accident. In case you've done too much and can't undo it anymore, you can just erase it. Zoom in on the little extra that I got here, decrease the size even more, and oh yeah, I need to increase my force too. There, I fixed my little smudge mistake. I go back to my smudge tool, decrease the go back to my circle, get a much more reasonable size, smudge everything so it's nice and smooth, no harsh changes in color. And now it actually looks much better. That just made it look way worse actually. Well, let's get back in here. Careful not to smudge the edge because you can smudge that way. Thankfully there's Control Z to undo any mistakes you made. Drag some white up into this head, smudge it out into a nice consistent slow change. And voila, that looks way better than the pure white I had before. The more skilled you are, the more you learn, the better you can make this look. I'm not that great, but it doesn't look that bad. So I now have the body using the tools I've shown. I can now add a new layer for hat. And we now work on the... Okay, I thought I saw some smudge there. We can just work on the hat. So now that we have a new layer, I can start all over again. We can just grab this, increase its size way up. The benefit of Gimp is because you can control all these, I can just increase this to the size I want. That seems about right. Switch to black. Make sure hardness and force are max. And that's the smudge tool. And boom, I have the start of my hat. I adjust the aspect ratio, wrong direction. So I go negative in this case. Too much. Not quite. Whoa, very drastic change in this area. Let's decrease the size a bit. Wrong direction. I want it closer to 0. A little closer to 0. A little closer to 0. There we go. And my hat. To give it a slightly more realistic color, I'll go ahead and change to a darker or a lighter gray. About right here is the current color. Go ahead and click OK. We'll decrease the size way down. Go ahead and go back up to a nice rectangular shape. And so if you're not very smooth with your hand and can't get a nice smooth line across, another option is to just line it up and click, click, click. Get it across like that. Go ahead and go in between the clicks to make sure it's smooth. And now our hat looks a little better. The more skill you have, the more you know what to do, the better you can make the hat look. If, in this case, for instance, my hat seems a little off center, because it's in layers, I can easily grab my hat and move it wherever I want. If I want to round my hat a little, because it just looks a little off being so smooth, can come back, put my aspect ratio to whatever I want, have whatever shape I want. Let's go ahead and grab the round shape for this, get the size I want, and just erase off the edges. Let's go ahead and smooth it. That's too much. Smooth out the top a little. And there we go. It's not great, but it looks even better. So we have the erase tool. We have something called a rectangle select tool. So if I go over to the body, for instance, I can grab a section of the body, move over to this tool, and I can just, oh, I did that wrong, sorry. So with the select tool, I can do, all right, I don't know that way, but Control X will cut it, and I can then paste it in and move it wherever I want. Or I can just, another option, so once you've done that, it becomes a floating layer, and I need to delete that floating, no, I need to just Control Z, sorry. All right, now that it's back to normal, so this is where my experience is a little lesser, but if I just go over there, that'll fix what I'm doing. But what I really wanted to show was you can also take, say, the entire selection, Control C, Control V, copy and paste, and now I have two snowmen. If I want another hat, and if I then press enter, no, not enter. So when I make that new thing, when I hit Control V, I have a floating selection, a pasted layer. So I will then say to anchor the layer, and the layer became part of the same thing. So now I have two snowmen. But I don't want it, so I'll go ahead, go back to the square. Unfortunately, the race spec ratio kind of sucks by default. Increase the size way up, and just erase that away, and we're good. Back to my snowman. Of course, you'll want eyes and a mouth for your snowman, so you can come over here, back to your circle, decrease the size down to a normal rock like you would expect for your snowman. Stop doing that, please. Stop. That's a good size. We got full hardness. We'll just go ahead and place the rock, and then your smile will probably be slightly smaller rocks lined up together. More skill you have, the better you can do that. And then if you want to even give it a slightly realistic look, go ahead and grab a white, get the brush really small, and add your little white aspect, white dot. Make sure you're, unfortunately, you need to be right on a pixel in order to hit just that one. There we go. Hit just the one pixel. And then you can grab your smudge tool, give it a low hardness and force, and then smudge it around. Get the color how you want. Come on, smudge the black in. And now when I zoom out, it even has that nice little shine that you would expect from a pupil or a shiny rock or whatever. You can do that on anything and everything. And now I have a very simple snowman. The only tools I have yet to show you is we have something called the crop tool. This allows you to change the size of your image. Let's say you're happy with what you have thus far, but you want to just focus on one part. I can crop it down, and now I have my new image of just this. Much smaller selection of where everything is. There's also the scale tool in case you want something larger or smaller. Unfortunately, it goes based on the entire selection, and I'm not entirely certain how to adjust that. So let's say I want my hat smaller, I'll have to do it like this, and then move my, hold on, make sure you're on the hat layer, make sure you select the hat. Alright, when this happens, because it's based on what you click, so if I click the snowman, it moves the snowman, if I click the background, it moves the background. Because it can't see, I don't know where the hat is, I'm having trouble selecting the hat. When this happens, you can remove the other layers, and then the only layer you can even select is the hat layer, which still doesn't want to move. And now I'm adjusting all kinds of things with controls, trying to get something to happen that's not happening. Back to there. Why won't you let me move you? Alright, when this happens, you'll just have to Control Z back to where you wanted. And be a little more careful about your adjustment. There is quite a bit I don't know. In this case, you can just do this back and forth until you get the size you want. And then move it. Or if you were careful enough, you don't even need to do that much. But yeah, we have the scale tool. Going back to the scale tool, if you hover over it, you can see down here, also in group, unified transform, rotate, shear, flip, perspective, other stuff. But the biggest one that you'll commonly use is rotate, Shift R. So if I hold Shift and press R, I can then rotate my hat instead. And do whatever I want with that. Once you're done, you will say rotate, and now I have my rotated hat. Not that I would want my hat rotated like this, but yeah. I can go ahead and just Control Z what I have, go back to this, which actually I want to go back to that. What else haven't I showed you? Clone tool, I haven't actually used. Text tool, in case you want to add text. So here you can set what font you're using. Let's say I want, is Times New Roman in here? Yes, Times New Roman of size 20, which you can manually set as well. And I want it in red. And then I just do snowman, and there's my snowman. If I don't like that size, I can select all of it and increase the size to a font I like. Make sure that your box can actually show everything. Press, not enter, sorry. Control Z, Z. How do you save this? Yeah, you can just click off, and now I have my snowman text. Select my background so I can see exactly what I have, and a simple snowman using features of Gimp. There's also a color picker tool. So let's say you've made a color that you really like. Say over here, I have a slight off-white color that I want to use, but I don't want to work in here to get exactly that color. I do that, and I have exactly that color over here. Let me increase the hardness and the force so it's clear. And as you can see, not quite white, but not quite gray either. I can use the color picker on the blue instead, and now I have the blue. I can use it on anything to get that exact color. And use your brush and you can confirm, yep, I have that exact color. But this is the Gimp tool, and your first project will be to build a snowman, preferably way better looking than this. Maybe even provide a background depending on what your skill is, but this is what you will be working on. Sorry for the different mistakes here and there. This is my first time trying this video. This is meant for people within a Discord server of mine who want to learn digital drawing, and I'm showing them Gimp. But that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.